It's hard to find a good place to start today's video because so many things are developing in the story that I'm talking about that literally the video I was going to make about this before is actually completely out of date because so many new things have happened. However, I think an excellent place to start this video is to talk about why I foresaw the future with the most important question related to the events of Capitol Hill. And that was, of course, me going with the joke repeatedly, where were you on the day of Capitol Hill? I was buying a used car or looking at a used car and somebody tried to sell me that car with frame damage in it and said it came from parallel parking. Where were you January 6th? Where were you? Now, at the time, I was making fun of a bunch of idiot spurgs on Twitter who were angry at me and thought I was covering something up or dodging the story because I didn't tweet for a couple of hours while this was going on because I was out looking for cars, and I don't pay attention to Twitter every single day, every single second of my life. And I was also making fun of the dramatic coverage of the events at Capitol Hill because we just spent the entire 2020 almost dealing with unparalleled feats of left-wing violence and riots in our country, but of course the news media is focusing on this very narrow riot, which was bad. It did lead to the death of a police officer and of a Trump protester and some other people who died that were on the Trump side, and thus I understand some of the coverage, but we were pretending like the left wing hadn't been violent and causing deaths and billions of dollars in damage over the past year. So that was like the two-front hit of the joke I was making. However, little did I know at the time that the question, where were you during the Capitol Hill events, would become so crucial because somebody was being incredibly dramatic about that. And of course, what I'm talking about are the events surrounding Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's harrowing account of her being in danger when in reality, it looks like she was actually in no danger at all whatsoever, and she's just being dramatic.
I had a pretty traumatizing event happen to me. Um, and I do not know if I can even disclose the full details of that event due to security concerns. But I can tell you that I had a very close encounter where I thought I was going to die.
Now, where this started was actually related to the whole GameStop stock issue and Robinhood cutting off people's ability to buy stocks, but only allowing them to sell stocks. And in that time, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez decided that she was going to call for congressional hearings to look into the matter, or at least demand an explanation, and if the explanation was not sufficient, then call for congressional hearings to look into the matter. And then Ted Cruz quote tweeted her and said that he fully agreed, to which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez responded to Senator Ted Cruz, the Republican in the Senate, with, "Great, I'm so glad that you're on board with this bipartisan effort to help out the little guy. Let's team up and get this done." Just kidding, this isn't the country that we're living in. We can't ever put aside partisan differences in order to get something done for the American people. Ocasio-Cortez actually responded to Ted Cruz by telling him that he needed to resign and claiming, falsely, might I add, that Ted Cruz actually was trying to get her murdered a couple of weeks ago in the Capitol Hill riots. Where were you during these events? Capitol Hill, where were you? I was looking at a used car. Now, of course, as usual, after Ocasio-Cortez lied, said something incredibly stupid, everybody retreated into their camps. They were the people making fun of Ocasio-Cortez for saying stupid and inaccurate things, and they were the sycophants that loved defending her, the yes queen people, if you will, who couldn't wait to jump on board and support her. And then Ocasio-Cortez decided that she was going to drop her harrowing tale of what happened to her on Capitol Hill in a 90-minute dramatic Instagram stream all about this and all about how Republicans are bad. Now, during the course of that stream, Ocasio-Cortez revealed something incredibly personal and incredibly sad that happened to her in her past. She didn't give any details about it, but I do want to say that I am sorry for her that that happened to her. But of course, she immediately turned and tried to make that thing that happened to her in her past something bad about the Republicans and people who were disagreeing with her, trying to blame Ted Cruz for something that he did not do in order to raise her own political esteem and center herself as the ultimate victim. This was nasty. It was manipulative. Michael Tracy called her out on it, and he was right to do so because claiming that your opponents politically are the same or likening them to your abuser in the past is totally outside the bounds. But Ocasio-Cortez did it because victimhood is currency, and she knew that people on the internet, people on the left, people in the mainstream media would call her stunning and brave for doing so, and they would do exactly what was intended by Ocasio-Cortez when she decided to link her political opposition to people who had abused her in her personal life. Now, the last time I decided that I was going to make a video about what was going on, this was the state of the story. This was the end point. However, Jack Prozobiec over at OAN actually did some digging into Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's dramatic accounts of what happened on Capitol Hill, which brings us back to our original question, my original troll: where were you on the day, January 6th, during the Capitol Hill riots? Because it turns out where Ocasio-Cortez was is completely relevant in that she was not there.
I hear these huge, violent bangs on my door, and then every door going into my office. Bang, 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 bang. Like someone was trying to break the door down. I jump into the bathroom. And I immediately realized that I shouldn't have gone into the bathroom. I should have jumped in the closet. And so I opened the door when all of a sudden I hear that whoever was trying to get inside got into my office.
So all that dramatic talk about right-wingers breaching the Capitol on Ted Cruz orders in order to take her out because she's a woman of color that stands up for progressive values was complete and total nonsense. In fact, other congresspeople have come forward to point out that the insurrectionists that Ocasio-Cortez is talking about never breached the Capitol. Now, by the way, these people were rioters. They weren't insurrectionists. This wasn't a coup. Stop being dramatic. But they call them insurrectionists, so that's why I'm going to use that term, because I'm trying to quote from the person who says Ocasio-Cortez is being incredibly dramatic. And on top of that, the person that Ocasio-Cortez was hiding from was a Capitol police officer trying to get her out because they were doing an evacuation of the building.
And then I just start to hear these yells of, where is she? Where is she? And I just thought to myself, they got inside. And this was the moment where I thought everything was over. I mean, I thought I was going to die. And then all of a sudden I hear my staffer G yell out. And he's like, hey. It's okay. Come out. And I come out, and this man is a Capitol police officer.
Now you can see on the maps provided that Ocasio-Cortez's location was nowhere near the place where violent protesters were storming on January 6th. On top of that, if you don't believe this map, there was actually a map put out of where all the protesters were, and once again, Ocasio-Cortez's location was nowhere near there. Now, Ocasio-Cortez has become incredibly dodgy and incredibly weaselly once it came out that she was being overdramatic about this situation. She actually started talking about the Capitol Hill attack as if it was an attack on the entire complex to obfuscate the fact that she was not in Capitol Hill and not in the place that was attacked, and deflect from the idea that she was misrepresenting her story. Which is a really strange tactic when you think about it, because I watched the entire Instagram live stream, and while it was dramatic, while it was incredibly racist in that Ocasio-Cortez said that because the Capitol Hill police officer was white, she was afraid of him because white cops kill people of color.
But then it didn't feel right. Because he was looking at me with a tremendous amount of anger and hostility. And things weren't adding up. Like, there was no partner there. I talked to G, my legislative director, after the fact, and he said, no, I didn't know if he was there to help us or hurt us either. Like so many other communities in this country, like just that presence doesn't necessarily give you a clear signal if you're safe or not.
Even though this person was clearly there to help her evacuate, for her safety, incredibly disrespectful, especially for somebody who's trying to leverage post-event suicides as adding to the death toll. Completely nasty thing to do. But she didn't actually say that she was in the Capitol building when it was being stormed during that Instagram live. It was reported that she was in the building and that insurrectionists were at her door because Ocasio-Cortez was incredibly dramatic, but she didn't actually say that, so she could say that she didn't actually lie. All of the Instagram live really came off as is Ocasio-Cortez being an incredibly panicked, not very stable, under pressure kind of person. And this is confirmed by the congressperson's office that Ocasio-Cortez was hiding in.
Did you know just how deep Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez's fears were at that time?
Well, at first she saw me, and we waved. I went into my office, and a couple seconds later, she knocked and she said, could we come in? And I said, of course. And she began to, her staffer was trying to describe what had happened. And Alex is really usually like unfailingly polite and very personable. And she wasn't even really talking to me. She was opening up doors, and I was like, can I help you? Like, what are you looking for? And she said, I'm looking for where I'm going to hide. And the thing that will always stay with me, the two memories that really, especially as a mom, I think were just really powerful for me, was when she said, I was saying, well, don't worry, I'm a mom, I'm calm, I've got everything here we need. We could live for like a month in this office. And she said, I just hope I get to be a mom. I hope I don't die today.
Now, as you can see from Representative Porter's tone and her description of events, Ocasio-Cortez was panicked when not many other people were panicking in that situation. She was just sipping her coffee in her office, and Ocasio-Cortez asked to hide in there, and then she was looking around for a place to hide. She was trying to calm the young congresswoman who thought she was going to die and was sad because she wasn't ever a mother in her life, and she hoped that she could be a mother sometime in the future. Now, this is really sad and gut-wrenching stuff. I know a lot of people don't like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I don't like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I don't like the way that she's using the events of Capitol Hill. But if we're asking whether or not Ocasio-Cortez was feeling the feelings that she was feeling at the time, I don't think that's really in dispute. She's clearly panicked. So much so that she actually borrowed shoes from a staffer of Katie Porter's in case she needed to run for her life.
And the second thing is she was wearing heels. And I remember her saying to me, I was wearing flats. And I remember her saying to me, I knew I shouldn't have worn heels. How am I going to run? And we went and we found her a pair of sneakers to wear from one of my staffers so that she could run if she needed to literally run for her life.
And while this is absolutely hilarious, because what is that staffer going to do if they're in a life or death situation because Ocasio-Cortez took her running sneakers? But regardless, it shows you the level of panic that Ocasio-Cortez was under. And if she talked about this panic, just the panic, and how she was freaked out, even when she heard the voice of a police officer, that would be one thing. However, Ocasio-Cortez is using this to leverage for political power against her political opponents. She's making up things about people like Ted Cruz, and when it was found out that she was just scared in a place that wasn't really under any danger, instead of saying, yeah, I was really scared, my past trauma is leading to my future trauma, she doubled down and said that there were pipe bombs planted near her, and people just don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand the geography of this area that was not breached and is not connected by anything except for underground tunnels that, of course, were not breached either. The pipe bombs that were found at the RNC and DNC headquarters that Ocasio-Cortez is saying is a part of the attack and what she had to experience were found nowhere near the office building that she was at either. They were actually even further away than the Capitol building, one being about 7 minutes away, one being about 2 minutes away. So even that is just not true, and on top of that, she said a Trump supporter planted those bombs, which is also not confirmed because we have not caught the person or persons who planted them at this time. That may change in the future, we may catch the perpetrators of that crime, but we have not caught them now, so Ocasio-Cortez is again leveraging victimhood that she did not experience herself and blaming her political opponent. But it actually gets even worse than that, because she went on to, of course, violate the First Amendment, or at least come as close as one would come to violating the First Amendment as a member of Congress. You see, after it came out that Ocasio-Cortez was not even in the Capitol building on January 6th at the time that all this craziness was happening, people started making fun of her on the internet. People started calling her Alexandria Ocasio-Smollett, and that was trending on Twitter along with AOC Lied. Now, while the media went to work to cover for Ocasio-Cortez because that's what they do, they lie for Democrats. Case in point, this Snopes article where they claim to fact check what the right wing is talking about, when in reality what they did was frame the question in such a way that they could provide cover for her. They said the claim is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez exaggerated the danger she was in during the January 6, 2021 Capitol Hill riot, in that she wasn't even in the Capitol building when rioting occurred. Now, they rate this mostly false, and they say what's true is Ocasio-Cortez wasn't in the Capitol building where the House and Senate chambers are located. Now, that's the actual claim, by the way, that Ocasio-Cortez was not even in the building that was under siege. That is 100% true, yet Snopes adds in the fact that Ocasio-Cortez exaggerated is a part of the claim, as if that is provable, fact-checkable, or verifiable in any way, shape, or form, in order to give this a rating of mostly false, even though the key information is 100% true. She wasn't in the Capitol building, she wasn't attacked. That's why on Twitter she keeps talking about how she was in the Capitol Hill complex, even though she was in a part that was in no way attacked in any way, shape, or form, and in reality she was just panicking over the evacuation. Now, while the media lying for Ocasio-Cortez is one thing, and we all expected that, while the fact checkers are nonsensical, and even though they do damage in that Facebook and all these tech companies rely on these lying fact checkers in order to decide who they downgrade in their algorithms, that is not a problem on the scale of what Ocasio-Cortez did when I referenced the First Amendment violation, or potentially the First Amendment issues, because Ocasio-Cortez, a member of Congress, you know, the people who swear an oath to the Constitution, in that Constitution there's the First Amendment that starts with Congress shall make no law, referring to freedom of speech, establishment of religion. Everybody gets that. I'm not going to go through the whole First Amendment. Ocasio-Cortez sent out this email demanding that her followers start flagging any information that's making fun of her as disinformation so it can be removed from the platform. And she specifically asked people to go into the trending hashtags, which are just lighting her up and are 100% hilarious, in order to get the moderators on these social media companies to take down any criticism of her. Directions include Ocasio-Cortez telling you to scan your social media posts to find misleading information, especially using those trending hashtags. Don't tweet the hashtag yourself because we don't want it to spread further. Identify the posts that are threatening or harassing and use the built-in report features to flag them for the moderators. The sad thing is, a lot of damage has already been done. People have already been misled and radicalized. They believe lies to the point where their hatred could someday boil over into violence. This is exactly what led to thousands of enraged rioters storming the Capitol on January 6th. So in that email, Ocasio-Cortez is trying to galvanize her followers to cut out her trending for the wrong reasons in her mind. She wants you to flag and report tweets that are photoshopped, aka memes of her making fun of her, because she doesn't want that on the internet, and she says it's so dire that people are being radicalized and this could lead to another January 6th. This is creating violence, pointing out that Ocasio-Cortez was being misleading, or the media was being misleading, and she's trying to use this ginned up victimhood in order to forward authoritarian legislation. That's the problem. Ocasio-Cortez is an authoritarian through and through. We should have already known this by the fact that she's a socialist, which by definition makes her an authoritarian. This is just more evidence of it. She can't stand people making fun of her on the internet, so she's trying to rally her troops in order to censor that, and the mainstream media is backing her. She can't stop you from telling the truth about her, and that's really what's getting under her skin right now. And she has a history of this, by the way. Let us not forget that dramatic photo shoot that she shot of her crying because she was so stunned by the evils that we were doing to the children that were crossing the border, when in reality she couldn't see any children and she was literally just posing for the camera dramatically, and when it came out what she could actually see in front of her, she just looked like a total idiot. So no matter what, don't fall for it. Don't give in. Keep tweeting under the hashtag Alexandria Ocasio-Smollett. keep making crazy, hilarious Photoshop memes like the ones that I've been showing here and there in this video, because they're great and I can't get enough of it, and keep calling out the lying fact checkers and the lying media who are backing up Ocasio-Cortez and making up things on her behalf in order to justify her exaggerating and trying to use this exaggerated account of events in order to wield political power with the Second Domestic Patriot Act against conservatives in the United States of America. Don't support it, don't get behind it. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like this video, you can show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social medias. They are linked in the description. You can support me via the support links, also in the description of this video. Till next time.